3 continents, 6 countries, 23 stadiums, and 100 years of FIFA World Cup history compressed into a single tournament.
FIFA is under fire.
That's 2030. For the first time ever, one World Cup will stretch across South America, Europe, and Africa in a celebration unlike anything the sport has ever seen. It begins where the whole story started, the opening centenary match at Uruguay's Estadio Centenario, exactly where the 1930 final was played nearly a century earlier. Argentina and Paraguay will each host a tribute match of their own, honoring South America's role in inventing the World Cup in the first place, before the tournament proper moves across the Atlantic to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. Now, one thing worth being upfront about: FIFA has confirmed the host nations, but a handful of these stadiums are still awaiting final sign-off and could yet be swapped as construction schedules firm up. As things stand today, though, this is the lineup. And running underneath the whole tour is a 3-way race we'll come back to. 3 futuristic stadiums, each with a serious claim to host the final. We start in South America, at the sport's actual birthplace, Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, the ground where the very first World Cup final was played in 1930. Thrown up in just 9 months, and to this day, the only stadium on Earth that FIFA has designated a historical monument. Renovations for 2030 will modernize seating, broadcasting, and accessibility, while carefully preserving that iconic silhouette. Nothing about Centenario is supposed to feel new. That's the whole point. Argentina's contribution is Estadio Monumental in Buenos Aires, the site of the 1978 final, the home of River Plate, and now, after a $100 million plus overhaul, the biggest stadium on the continent at 84,000 seats. Paraguay's Estadio Osvaldo Domínguez Dib in Asunción isn't being renovated at all. It's being torn down and rebuilt from scratch for the country's first ever World Cup match, a modern 46,000-seat arena that signals real international ambition. Then the tournament crosses the Atlantic to Spain, where the majority of matches will be played, and where the sheer variety of venues is the story. On the Basque Coast, Real Sociedad's Anoeta was reborn as Reale Arena, running track ripped out, roof extended, fans practically on top of the pitch. Down in Malaga, La Rosaleda, a veteran of the 1982 World Cup, is getting the most expensive renovation of any mid-tier venue on the list, well north of 200 million euros. Zaragoza isn't renovating at all. La Romareda is being demolished and replaced by a fully covered new build, around 43,000 seats, for roughly 140 million euros. Barcelona's RCDE Stadium and A Coruña's beautiful seaside Riazor need much lighter touches. Smaller upgrades focused on FIFA hospitality, broadcasting, and technology. And on the Canary Islands, thousands of kilometers out in the Atlantic, Estadio de Gran Canaria will be modernized into one of the most geographically unique venues any World Cup has ever used. 2 of Spain's newer builds barely need touching at all. Seville's La Cartuja was rescued from its athletics track origins to become a genuine 70,000-seat football stadium. And Atletico Madrid's Estadio Metropolitano, a 300 million euro redevelopment that has already hosted a Champions League final, is basically tournament-ready as is. And then Bilbao. San Mamés opened in 2013, and it might be the best-designed football stadium in the world for pure atmosphere. Steep stands rising almost vertically over the touchline. The crowd pressed so close to the pitch that visiting players talk about it years afterward. It needs almost nothing done to it. It'll host some of the loudest knockout nights of the tournament. And then, our first contender for the final. Real Madrid's Santiago Bernabéu has just come out the other side of a rebuild that cost well over 1 billion euros. A retractable roof, a retractable underground pitch that can be lowered and stored beneath the stadium, a 360-degree video screen wrapping the interior, seating for more than 80,000. It is, arguably, the most technologically advanced stadium on the planet. And Real Madrid built it specifically to be able to host the biggest events on Earth, sport, concerts, or otherwise, nearly every day of the year. Contender number 2 follows immediately. Camp Nou. Barcelona's legendary home is mid-reconstruction at a cost of roughly 1.5 billion euros, and when it reopens, it will hold over 105,000 spectators. The largest football stadium in Europe, with a solar panel roof, expanded hospitality, and an entirely reimagined fan experience. Two candidates for the final from the same country, both still under construction as we speak. Hold that thought. Now cross the Strait of Gibraltar. Africa is hosting World Cup matches again for the first time in decades, and Morocco has been building toward this moment for the better part of 15 years. Billions of dollars. A string of failed World Cup bids stretching back to the 1990s. And now, 6 confirmed host stadiums. Marrakesh, Agadir, and Fez each contribute an existing 45,000-seat venue getting substantial upgrades, new VIP sections and lighting in Agadir, an $80 million broadcasting and hospitality overhaul in Fez, and a full modernization of the Marrakesh ground while preserving its striking architecture. In the capital, Stade Prince Moulay Abdallah is essentially a rebuild. 68,000 seats, well over $500 million invested, and a strong bet for a semi-final. Tangiers Ibn Battuta Stadium is being expanded to around 75,000, making it one of the biggest football grounds on the continent. And then, Contender 3. Grand Stade Hassan II, just outside Casablanca, is being built entirely from scratch. Once finished, it is expected to seat around 115,000, potentially the largest dedicated football stadium in the world. Its roof, inspired by traditional Moroccan tents, will be one of the most visually striking structures in modern sports architecture. It costs well over $500 million and has emerged as the most talked about candidate to host the 2030 final, purely on the strength of what it would mean for African football to host that match in that stadium on this anniversary. Portugal closes the tour with 3 finished, tournament-ready stadiums. And honestly, that's the point. The country doesn't need construction drama to earn its place here. Porto's Estadio do Dragão and Lisbon's Estadio José Alvalade, both opened for Euro 2004, are still among Europe's finest football venues and need only fan experience and hospitality tweaks. And Benfica's Estadio da Luz, 64,000-plus seats, host to 2 Champions League finals and countless unforgettable European nights, bring some of the loudest atmosphere in the whole tournament. Portugal's role is quiet, but it delivers 3 of the most reliable venues on the list. And that quiet reliability is arguably why it was picked. Which brings us back to that 3-way race. Camp Nou will offer the largest capacity in Europe and the sheer weight of Barcelona's football heritage. Santiago Bernabéu is the most technologically advanced stadium on Earth, and Real Madrid built it for exactly this. Grand Stade Hassan II could open as the largest football stadium ever built, and hosting the final there would mean the trophy is lifted in Africa for the very first time in World Cup history. Whichever stadium FIFA picks, they aren't just picking a venue, they're picking which story the 2030 tournament gets to tell. European history, European reinvention, or African arrival on the sport's biggest stage. Because that's what makes this one different. 23 stadiums, 6 countries, 3 continents, 100 years. And in the summer of 2030, somewhere between Casablanca, Madrid, and Barcelona, a captain is going to lift a trophy the way 21 captains have lifted it before. But this time, under a roof, or in a stadium, or on a continent that has never hosted that moment. Whichever of the 3 it turns out to be, that's the image the next century of football starts with.